Making videos for the internet can be intimidating. What camera do I get? What lens do I get? What 3-point lighting should I use? What key light should I use? And what the hell is bokeh? But one item could get you started with video creation the easy way. The humble GoPro. Now the GoPro is not some kind of super duper high-end like professional level camera or anything like that. And it's not always great at every situation. But one overlooked use for GoPros is that they're actually pretty good for just doing these like talking head or vlogging videos. For the casual vlogger or someone just starting out with YouTube, it's certainly not the worst place to start. Plus, it does have a few distinct advantages over your traditional interchangeable lens camera. I brought almost nothing with me. It's literally just this GoPro and my phone. That's pretty much it. I brought the GoPro because it's small and I can pack it in places, doesn't attract a lot of attention, and I don't have to carry a 5-pound camera and lens all day. A fantastic use for the GoPro in the vlogging sense is that you can walk and talk and it's pretty stable. Plus it can serve as this talking head camera. You just poorly place it on a tripod like I've done today. Now this is a GoPro 10, but the GoPro 8 and 9 should track pretty close to this. I will say that the speed on the menus comparatively is much faster on the GoPro 10, so that's definitely nice. Specifications, ooh, I'll actually pull it up on screen somewhere here, but you can do up to 5.3K at 60 FPS, which is totally crazy. You can do 4K at 120 FPS. You have their all new hyper smooth 4.0 stabilization. It's very stable. It's waterproof up to 33 feet. Don't actually try to dunk it. The Hero 10 actually has 3 microphones on it, and they're serviceable. But having a separate mic is definitely nice for these talking head style of videos. Now there are definitely some pros to using a small compact package like this, so here's a few. Number 1, they are fairly comparatively cheap. I've seen GoPro 8s going for about $200 on eBay, sometimes less, and a lot of the times with that price it includes extra accessories like batteries and handles and cages, other stuff that makes the GoPro a lot more usable in my opinion for the walk and talk sort of video. Now compared to like the Lumix G7 that I have, which was like $500 or so, and even crazier, the A7 IV, which was like $2,700, that one stung. The price is comparatively good when you have some really crazy cameras. Number 2, they are dead simple to operate. It's got 2 buttons. That's it. It's got 2 buttons. It's got power and it's got record. And actually, when the GoPro's off, this is just like a fun trick. If the GoPro's off, you can just press the record button and it'll start up and start recording within like 3 to 4 seconds. Literally 1 button operation. On that line of thought, it's also pretty non-intimidating for newcomers. So if I need like some extra footage or something like that, like say I'm out in the field and I'm recording someone lifting something kind of heavy, but if I need some extra coverage, I can always just give a GoPro to someone who has relatively little or even no video experience and just tell them to point it in the right direction, because pretty much takes care of the rest. You can definitely get some very usable footage, even if you're not super great at composition and the artistry of video. Number 3, it's compact. This thing is tiny. It's tiny. It fits in a pocket. Like even those like fake girl half pockets. I am super sorry for girl pockets, by the way. Like having full-size pockets, that's where it's at. Anyone in the like video creation space can tell you that gear will start to take over your space very, very quickly. Having something lightweight and maybe more importantly, always available means that you're much more likely to actually use it. In photography, they often say the best camera that you have is the one that you have on you. And that tracks pretty close with video as well. The best video camera that you have is the one that you have on you. It makes it much easier to get out there and take regular video and work on it like any other good habit. Like other good habits, I always appreciate you guys hitting that like button. Helps the video out a ton, and it's free. Now the best camera that you do have is the one that you have available. And a super large pro of the GoPro is that it weighs almost nothing, takes up very little space, so it's always easy to just pack into another bag or just jam into a pocket. Really doesn't feel terrible lugging that thing around. Well, comparatively. Number 4, it's tough and it's waterproof. Now, I know the traditional use of the actual GoPro is like mounting it on the back of your buddy's sand rail or motorcycle and going real fast and rolling through a cool desert. Here's some B-roll because I don't have the ability to do that. I don't live near a desert or have a cool motorcycle. Now, if it can handle motorcycles and action sports, it can probably handle being bumped around a little bit in a bag or a pocket, or I don't know, maybe you say you drop it in the middle of a rainstorm. Not like I've ever done that before. But it can definitely handle you bumbling around town and jostling it a little bit. Not a big deal for the GoPro. Now, the waterproof part actually came in incredible handy while I was out recording a vlog for this video, actually, testing a few things out, and it started to torrentially downpour.
We also get to see how waterproof the actual lens is. I have heard that they put a certain coating on this lens so that it would be hydrophobic, right? Because hey, this ain't no rat money.
It's definitely usable even while you're out in the middle of a torrential downpour. I couldn't have planned it better or worse, depending on how you look at it. Now, number 5, and this one may be the biggest for me, which is just a huge bonus, but it's not your phone. And yes, I have to say, this is already an incredibly fortunate thing, okay? To have multiple devices to record video on, that's incredibly fortunate, all right? But that said, having another device to actually do video that's not your phone is incredibly useful. Now, you absolutely can and should use your phone camera if that's the only thing that you have available. But the downside of doing that is that it's your phone. You use it as, you know, a phone to send like texts and to call people and to get updates on things and, God forbid, do work on your phone.
Now, I know the age-old question, right? Why not just use your phone instead? Well, this is a perfect example of why, if I needed a small camera, why I would not want to use my phone, because while it is pouring down rain, I don't want to get everything wet. And you know what? It's perfectly okay for the GoPro to get a little wet. It's okay.
All the normal functions of your phone are sort of taken aback when you're taking video because that's kind of the only thing that you're doing with it. So having a separate device that basically has its only purpose being video frees up your phone to use your phone for phone stuff. Now, realistically, like when I'm out and about and filming and stuff, like say I want to put in, I don't know, like a super duper awesome pizza restaurant and I need GPS directions. Well, recording at the same time on your phone and trying to do GPS and trying to call in so that you can get that triple decker pepperoni pizza, it's very difficult to do if you just have one device. So having 2 devices is really, really great. And another side bonus, if you drop the GoPro, it's probably going to be okay. Depending on how far it is, if you drop your phone, you're going to have a mildly bad day to incredibly bad day. Also, don't drop your phone or GoPro on purpose. There's no testing footage for that, guys. Sorry. All right, now some downsides, because there are unfortunately some downsides using the GoPro in this vlog style or talking head style. We got to be realistic, guys. You want to keep in mind that this is just some opinions that I have on the GoPro, and that I want you to be aware of the actual use case that you want to use your camera for. If you want to take it out and about and just put it under the stick and vlog yourself walking through the city, the GoPro is really, really good for that. If you're trying to shoot your mini documentary about how toast should be buttered on both sides, then this probably isn't the super artistic mega bokeh machine that you're looking for. So always keep your use case in mind. Now, downside number 1, the audio. It's not great. Here's a sample of the actual audio itself coming from the camera that I would say I'm about 3 feet away from the camera right now, and the audio's passable. I also had a bunch of different audio clips from actually going out and trying to vlog with this thing, and trying to record at a concert, and trying to record before the concert. I have a bunch of audio clips where sometimes it did better, because currently I'm shooting some photos and everything is a disaster, where I was like in a quiet room like this. And sometimes it did worse, like when I was outside and it was like super windy. Didn't do great with that.
I can always, use my nice camera gear and like nice lighting inside the studio so that I can have a normal A-head talking role. Maybe I'll like cut to that now.
And they do make a media mod, basically a little housing that has a microphone on it that is, I would say, an upgrade. And then the media mod cage also has the ability to plug in a different outside mic, which is definitely something I would suggest if you're regularly going to use it for vlogging. All that stuff said, you'll need like a 3.5mm connector jack, and you'll also need a cold shoe attachment so that you can actually mount the microphone to it. Alternatively, you could run a separate lav and just use that instead. That can be burdensome for someone that's a little bit newer to video. So if you need to use the mics that are just on the GoPro, it's passable. Number 2, low light. It's also not great at low light. Sorry, I got this like southern drawl thing going on today. Because of physics and science and unspeakable black magic that I cannot understand, and, well, the actual sensor size being so small, this just means that in low light conditions, the GoPro simply cannot gather enough light to make the image look good without adding a bunch of grain in. Now, here's a chart for size reference, but basically the GoPro's 1/2.3-inch sensor struggles with low light because of its relative size. It pales in comparison to the amount of light that a camera can collect, especially if it's an APS-C size camera, or if it is a full-size frame sensor. I mean, just look at that bad boy. That's a honker. The sensor's like the size of the GoPro. Oh, now I have to put it back carefully and hope I didn't get any dust in there. And as you can see from some of this footage that I was inside of like a musical venue, it was pretty dark, and the performance was not great. Passable, I would say, if you're just using it as like a B-roll clip like this. But something to keep in mind is that if you film a lot in low light or like night conditions, the GoPro may not be the pick for you. Number 3, no interchangeable lenses. Well, technically you can replace the lens cover and get an even ultra wider lens for the GoPro 10. And technically you can change the actual focal length of the GoPro, but it's doing most of that digitally. So you're not actually getting those 16 to 35mm differences, it's just cropping into the image itself. Now, I would suggest if you're using the GoPro, I would probably use either wide or the normal field of view, because the ultra wide that it comes with by default is super wide and will make, like, if I get super close to the camera, it makes my limbs appear all weird and bendy and stretchy. Now, a typical interchangeable lens camera will let you change different lenses, which means that you can change the aperture. Essentially, it lets you make the background more blurry. And you lose that level of control with the GoPro, so it's a little bit of a downside if you are trying to get a very specific look out of your video. Number 4, battery life. This one hurts. This one hurts. Battery life for me, real world, was about an hour and some change shooting on each battery. Now, I know some people can get much longer, some people can get much shorter, depending on your frame rate and resolution that you're shooting at. But at 4K, 30 FPS, I got about an hour and 10 minutes of footage. On paper, they do say it can be up to 80 minutes, but that may be turning down some of the actual stabilization and not recording at 4K 60 FPS or something crazy like that. That jumble of numbers aside just means that if you're recording at like a super high frame rate that you want to slow down later so you can have some cool look and slow motion, it is going to chew through battery. Almost everyone I know that has a GoPro literally will pack like 2 or 3 extra batteries with it just because it goes through them that fast. You basically have to have extra batteries with you if you're going to use this for a vlog setup. Thankfully, the batteries are still fairly small, so you can probably fit it in the same pocket that you're jamming all your GoPro stuff into. Something to keep in mind while buying used is that you definitely want to keep an eye out for if they have extra batteries already, because that will save you a lot in the long run. Now, number 5, this all kind of culminates to essentially no upgradability. Basically, because you can't change lenses, the GoPro has a hard time growing with you as a creator. Now, I know that's sort of a long-term approach, but if you're looking at YouTube as more of a serious hobby, or maybe you do eventually want to transition it to some kind of video career, then a GoPro has a hard time growing as a main camera. Not to say that you can't use it as a side camera or for B footage or for action footage where you wouldn't want to destroy your phone or main camera. The GoPro still has uses, but as a main camera, it starts to become more restricted with the types of shots that you can get. Now, yes, you can slap on adapters and you can slap on different wide angle lenses and different kind of microphones and all that, but that same amount of money that can be used to upgrade the GoPro could be used towards an interchangeable camera, which will give you much more uses. Of all those things being said, if those limitations don't bother you too much, or if the pros outweigh the cons, then the GoPro 10 could definitely be for you. It's not perfect quality, but you get fairly stable footage, and it's fairly easy to use. The hyper-smooth stability GoPro technology, which really is just some kind of voodoo black magic to me, but you almost get essentially gimbal-type or gimbal style footage and how stable it is without having to have a $500-600 gimbal. Pretty impressive. Now, as we've gone throughout this video, you've seen a jumble of different clips of me using it for vlogging out and about in the real world. And you've also saw this A-frame, this A-roll talking head portion, always charge your extra batteries. Be prepared for that. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments below if a GoPro is good enough for you to go ahead and start vlogging. Knowing the limitations of the GoPro that I know now though, I definitely would have picked some spots that were less windy outside. I definitely would have carried some extra batteries, and if possible, I would have tried to record audio either separately or using a 3.5mm jack and using an external microphone. I can't emphasize how super easy it was to just pull it out, press the record button, and then 4 or 5 seconds later, it's recording and I have clips that are ready to go. That was so useful for me. Now, I wouldn't immediately rush out to go and buy a used GoPro if it is your first camera, as you could definitely invest into better lighting or audio first to improve the quality of your videos. However, I want to emphasize, if you have easy access to a used GoPro, or if it's not too expensive where you live to get a used GoPro, it's definitely a very solid option for vlogging. Now, if you did happen to snag a GoPro, or any kind of camera, you've probably recorded your first video by now, and you probably need to edit it, right? Check out this video for a lowdown on how to cut and edit your YouTube video. Thank you, squids. Now get out there and record something and edit something.